Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia here, and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup Stage 1 Playoffs Review. So, here we are then. Stage 1 has officially finished, the playoffs have taken place. We had 8 teams going into the playoffs, and we're going to jump straight into it, because I want to talk a lot about the final. The final was insane. First of all, we had the Seoul Dynasty taking on the New York Excelsior. Believe me, these playoffs, they started off insane and ended insane. These, in my opinion, are the best playoffs since Stage 1 or 2 of the inaugural season. Because Stage 1 and 2 of the inaugural season, those playoffs were really, really close. Whereas 3 and 4 weren't so close. We had the Seoul Dynasty taking on the New York Excelsior in the first game on the Friday. This was the first quarter final. Seoul Dynasty only just squeezed through with quite a convincing win over London, but they did still squeeze through. New York were unbeaten and were second seed only to the Vancouver Titans. So we expected New York to win this and win this quite comfortably. The problem is with New York is there used to be a team called LW Blue, and LW Blue had a very big tendency to choke hard when they used to play in Korea, and that comes back to bite New York Excelsior once again. They did choke quite hard in Stage 1 of the inaugural season. They choked enormously in the overall playoffs of the inaugural season, and for Stage 1 of the 2019 season, yeah, they choked against the Seoul Dynasty. Seoul Dynasty looked insane. They threw a 3000 IQ play in terms of playing Marvel on the first map. I like to see this from Seoul because Marvel plays a really defensive style. They forced New York Excelsior to aggress onto them. That is when New York Excelsior do not feel comfortable. New York Excelsior are not an aggressive team like Vancouver. They like people to aggress onto them and then pick off errors by the attacking team. Seoul Dynasty win this 3-1, switching between Marvel and Fisher. Those two team compositions there. If you go with Marvel, you're looking more Lunatic High. You look at Fisher, you're looking more a new Seoul Dynasty sort of thing. It's insane. Seoul knock out the favourites, New York Excelsior 3-1. Suddenly the playoffs are well in the remit for Vancouver Titans, because that's who we have up next. Vancouver Titans have looked insane throughout Stage 1. They came into this as Runaway. Runaway won Contenders 2018 Season 2 with GOATs. They are the best GOATs team in the world. We had doubts about that because we knew about teams like Paris, but Paris were trash in the end because of their Zarya play. Vancouver would take on the Boston Uprising in the second quarter final. This was unfortunate for Boston. They lost 3-0 to Vancouver. Remember, the quarterfinals were best of 5 maps, so first to 3. Boston, they didn't look terrible, don't get me wrong, but they came up against Vancouver. Boston are in a good place right now. They just need to keep working, keep working. Season playoffs are well within your sights, Boston. You just got to keep working to try and get up there with the likes of Vancouver, because Vancouver, they were just on another level. Then we had the other 2 quarterfinals taking place in the early morning of Saturday. First was Atlanta Reign taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. Now, these 2 next games were arguably much, much closer than were the games we expected to be much closer until Seoul decided to do what they did to New York. Philadelphia Fusion coming in with playoff pedigree. They had gone to a final of a stage before in Stage 2 of last season. They had obviously been to the final of the overall playoffs, but they lost to London. Atlanta Reign are a new team. They hadn't experienced this before. Atlanta had looked good throughout the stage though, but they ultimately do fall to the Philadelphia Fusion 3-1. Philadelphia, they're not the best team on GOATs, but their teamwork, their communication is very good. And it often sees them through games. And I think that's what we saw here. Atlanta, there is no need to fret. You're looking good. And going into Stage 2, you can play GOATs if GOATs gets played. You can also play the DPS if it's needed. So, not so many worries for Atlanta. Then we come on to the last quarterfinal, which was the San Francisco Shock taking on the Toronto Defiant. Toronto Defiant were another unknown entity coming into the season as a new team. San Francisco Shock did develop quite well come the end of the inaugural season, and Shock have continued to improve. They had a very difficult stage 1 with a very difficult fixture list in front of them, and Shock still made the playoffs, so all credit to them, they do very well. Toronto do lose to San Francisco Shock. San Francisco Shock sweep Toronto Defiant 3-0. Now, I did not expect it to be this clean cut. And we are seeing, especially in these playoffs, a Shock that is developing into a powerhouse team. What they will be like off of GOATs, I don't know, because Sinatra's Zarya is so good. So, Toronto, again, you had a fantastic stage here. A fantastic stage to get to where you were. I believe it was 4th or 3rd, I can't remember, 3rd or 4th. It was on a coin toss, so who knows. But Toronto have had a fantastic stage. There's not much to be worried about. You will continue to develop, and as that synergy gets better and better, who knows what lies ahead, but you're certainly in contention for those overall playoffs right now. So we move on to our semi-finals. This is where the rule set changed, and we are a best of 7. So it's the first of 4 maps. Yeah, the semi-finals turned into a bit of a whitewash. Seoul Dynasty taking on the Vancouver Titans. This was a 4-0 for Vancouver Titans. Seoul just couldn't cope with the superiority of Vancouver. Vancouver are absolutely insane. San Francisco Shock taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. This is where Fusion can't be carried by teamwork alone. They need to have good GOATs, and that's what Fusion don't really have. And Carpe just, he was completely outclassed on Zarya against Sinatra. Shock win this 4-0. So both teams go into this. Our final was set up as San Francisco Shock taking on the Vancouver Titans. A rematch of the stage game where Vancouver won convincingly in terms of map points, but actually it was much closer than you'd suspect. Vancouver just went very clutch. So, this is arguably the best Overwatch League series I've ever watched. It is certainly the best since the Stage 1, Stage 2 playoff finals, because the Grand Finals was a bit of a whitewash for Spitfire in the end, wasn't it? Let's be honest. This was insanity. Again, it was the best of 7, so it is the first to 4 maps. The best way to talk about this game is it's much like a tennis match. Because of the rule set in the playoffs, the loser picks the next map, as it used to be in Contenders. So, you go into the first map. Now, honestly, this game, it's just unbelievable. The first map was Nepal. Vancouver take the first point of Nepal, and they looked quite dominant. Shock then turn this on the head, and they absolutely rout Vancouver and win Nepal 2-1. So Shock go up 1-0 in the series. Then we move to Vancouver Titans map pick because they lost on Nepal. They picked to go to Numbani. This was an absolute stomping for Vancouver Titans. They win it 1-0. There was no need to take the full point for Vancouver because Shock never took it. The payload didn't get moved. We only saw 10% of Numbani. Very crazy. So this is 1-1 in the series now. You go into half time and you bring on San Francisco's pick for their map because they lost Numbani. We go to Temple of Anubis. We know how rolling Temple of Anubis can go. This is a crazy map. We always get to see really good games on Anubis. Both teams finished their attack rounds. Vancouver finished with much less time in the bank. Vancouver, they get 3 points in the end. Shock leave it late, but they do get 4. So San Francisco Shock win Temple of Anubis and, as I like to say, hold serve. They hold their map. We go to Vancouver Titans map pick because they lost the last map. We go to Dorado. Dorado, again, was very dominant for Vancouver. 2-1 to Vancouver. They hold serve. And we bat back to San Francisco's map pick. We go to Ilios. Oh my word, this is just crazy. Ilios was not ideal for San Francisco because Vancouver Titans have played 5 times on Ilios this stage and won them all. Shurk had actually lost on Dorado. They had a 2-1 record on Ilios. I think they had actually had a 2-1 record on Ilios, so not perfect for Shurk, but it is their map pick. Once again, San Francisco Shurk holds serve and they win Ilios. At this point, we're at 2-2. No, we're not. We're at 3-2 for San Francisco. So we go to Vancouver Titans map pick. And this is Kings Row. Kings Row was where San Francisco ultimately lost to Vancouver in their first game. And again, Vancouver rolled Shurk. Eventually, the first point was taken very quickly by Vancouver. Shurk actually looked better than they had done on the previous map picks for Vancouver, but this still ends up in a 3-2 win for Vancouver. So we are at 3-3 at this stage of proceedings. We go to a map 7. We get filled with Overwatch. This is obviously San Francisco's map pick. Everyone holds serve up until now. Rialto. Now Rialto is a very difficult map to attack. We see it on first point. We very rarely see finishes on Rialto in competitive ladder, in the Overwatch League, in contenders. It's very rare to see Rialto finished because it's very difficult to attack. And Vancouver and Shurk come along and say, Rialto's not hard to attack. Oh, don't be silly. Shurk finish Rialto with a minute in the bank. Now that's a feat in itself. The previous record for the fastest run on Rialto, I believe, was around 3.5 minutes. Vancouver Titans, that's 3.5 minutes in the bank. Vancouver Titans finish their attack run on Rialto with 4 minutes 26 seconds in the time bank. That is an Overwatch League record by over a minute. I believe that is a world record. Vancouver were not stopped once. It took them 3.5 minutes to attack the entire of Rialto. That is absolute insanity. I'm not kidding. I was tweeting about this at the time on Twitter. The game only finished an hour ago for me. So I'm fresh here in terms of my thinking. I fully believe at the heights of their power, NYXL, Lunatic High, Comdu Panthera, the best Overwatch teams in history could not have done that on Rialto. I honestly think that will go down as if one of the best, if not the best, attack rounds on any map of all time. And I am fully serious with that. I don't think we will ever see anything like that again. That is history made, big time. And I fully believe that no other Overwatch team in history could have done that. Yeah, you can say that, well, we never got to see Lunatic High play Rialto. But just looking, I've seen Lunatic High play. And I just don't think they would have done it. It's absolute insanity. So you come to the fact that it's now 3-3. San Francisco Shurk have 1 minute in the bank, and Vancouver have 4 minutes 26. So I just can't. I honestly can't believe that. I honestly can't believe that. I tweeted at the time, are we watching the greatest Overwatch team of all time? Because that is unbelievable. Fully unbelievable. So, I think it was quite inevitable, wasn't it? Let's be honest. San Francisco Shock just get their push to just before the first point. They do eat an incredible amount of time off Vancouver's time bank, but in the end, Vancouver get the win on Rialto and ultimately win the series 4-3 and are your Stage 1 champions. Oh my words. I fully believe, I mean, I was thinking after King's Row, well, this stage final was right up there with the Stage 1 final of last season and the Stage 2 final of last season, which were incredibly close matches between New York and London and Philadelphia and New York. So, but Rialto pushed it. This is the greatest Overwatch League series of all time. I fully believe that. And it may be the best Overwatch series of all time anywhere. If there is any game for anyone to get into esports or the Overwatch League or Overwatch esports, watch San Francisco Shock versus the Vancouver Titans Overwatch League Stage 1 Playoff Final 2019. Because I have never watched anything like it. The grand finals for last season were something, but the game itself was heavily London in the end. It was a massive experience, yes, but this game could not have been closer until Rialto. Now, you have to give credit to San Francisco Shock here. This Shock is completely different to the Shock we saw at this time last season. This is the most powerful San Francisco Shock we have ever seen. And off the back of the improvements we saw in Stage 4 of last season, Shock are, I would say, either the third or actually second best team in this league. And I think they would have beaten NYXL if they would have played them. Looking at that performance, I think they would have beaten NYXL. And if I thinking of it now, if it had been Vancouver versus the NYXL, I don't think it would have gone to 7 maps. I think Vancouver would have beaten NYXL quite easily. I'm lost for words. It's just an incredible series. I don't think it's a send-off for GOATS in some respects as well, because GOATS is not expected to be as prevalent in the next stage. How that will affect Vancouver, I don't know. But one thing is, if we do go to more Winston play, then the aggressive style of Bumper actually favours Winston. So, oh boy, I mean, Vancouver are better than anything I saw NYXL do last season. During the season, like, and I think better than anything I saw London do in the playoffs. Maybe not, I don't know. It's very difficult to say, especially as we don't. I love to see a meta where we can see Vancouver Titans at the height of their power and London Spitfire from the playoffs of last season, the overall playoffs. Thrash that out. I'd love to see that, because it's just crazy. That would be crazy. And you think they haven't played Stitch, they haven't played Haxel, they haven't played these DPS players. Hureg. Oh, they have played Haxel, sorry, but not played Haxel on DPS. Hureg. It's just absolutely crazy. You've got to give credit to, obviously, the organisation behind Vancouver. Yang1, Harsha, and Dante, and Pagion. But you've also got to give credit to Runaway, Flowervin, and the head coaches at Runaway, they made this squad in 2016. They built this squad from the absolute bottom. And they built it to what it is today. The best Overwatch team in the world right now. Forget your NYXL, forget your Lunatic High. We could be looking at the best Overwatch team there ever has been. They are unbeaten for 8 months right now, going back to Season 2 of Contenders 2018, when they were back as Runaway. That Runaway team, by the way, in Contenders' career this season, are still unbeaten with an entirely new roster. So we could be seeing Runaway Mark II next season in the Overwatch League. You give Seoul the name Dynasty. I think we're looking at a dynasty, but I think we're looking at Runaway as a dynasty. I can't express how massive this team is right now. We expected Vancouver to be strong. A lot of people expected Vancouver to choke. I didn't believe in that. And ultimately, I caved in my overall predictions, and I said that Vancouver would finish second overall behind NYXL. I don't know whether I believe that anymore. And I might do an updated predict. I don't know. I don't know whether I believe Vancouver will finish behind NYXL. It would ultimately come down to DPS and what meta we see in Stage 2. Because the only gripe I have with Vancouver is whether their DPS could keep up with the likes of NYXL's Pine, Libero when he's playing DPS, Sabiolbi, Flower. Whether they could keep up with London Spitfire when they're playing DPS, Birdring and Prophet. And Guard. Could they keep up with them when they're at the heights of their plow playing DPS? That's what I remain to see from Vancouver. If they can do that, I can't see them being stopped. I can't see them being stopped. They may lose a game here and there, but I can't see them plummeting. Oh my word. Okay. Well, that's enough of me talking. Honestly, if you haven't watched the match, watch it. It's a very long match, but it's well worth a watch. If you can only watch certain maps, Ilios, Anubis, King's Row. No, Ilios, Anubis, and Rialto. Because they were the best maps in the series, in my opinion. Congratulations to the Vancouver Titans. Commiserations to San Francisco Shock, because believe me, if they had come up against anyone else but Vancouver, they would have won that, and I think they would have won it quite easily. So, Shock are looking good, and I know Shock can pull out really good DPS as well. So Shock are looking good going into Stage 2, because I think whatever the meta throws at them, Shock are very versatile, and can really grow into metas as such. Vancouver, the only gripe, again I said it just now with Vancouver, is when the meta changes, because we saw Chengdu throw double sniper at Vancouver. Now Vancouver, back when they were Runaway, would have played against double sniper and played double sniper. They just wouldn't switch from goats. And if they get stuck on goats, that could be the undoing of Vancouver. But they aren't that silly, I don't think. They aren't that silly. So, yes, I will round it off with congratulations to the Vancouver Titans. They are your Stage 1 champions. Commiserations to the San Francisco Shock. It was an absolutely fantastic series, and there is nothing to be ashamed of from San Francisco Shock. I honestly just don't think they could have played better than they did. And that's credit to Shurk, but that is overwhelming credit to Vancouver. Oh man. I will be back next week for an awards for Stage 1. Also a preview ahead of Stage 2, I would expect. And then we will get into Stage 2, which I believe there is only a week of. I believe Stage 2 starts on the 4th of April with NYXL versus the Philadelphia Fusion. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what we will see with the new patch with Batiste and the nerfs to Goats. I just hope we get to see a lot of diversity in the meta, because Stage 2 is going to be extremely interesting. You've got NYXL, who have now been beaten, but not in the regular season, and you have Vancouver, who look unstoppable. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but thank you guys so much for joining me for Stage 1. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.